back to Movie Man. On this episode, we're going to be talking about, of course, Mandalorian. We're going to talk also about the Rise of Skywalker that's coming out in a few days, of course. So we're going to be talking about a few topics like, will the fans love the movie? What are 3 things that we need happen for this for this to be amazing? And then what would your dream story and ending for episode 9 be? So we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to be ranking the Skywalker Saga. Dun, 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 dun. We're going to rank episode 1 through 8. And then in a few weeks, we'll rank 9 with all this stuff.
I went to trials, guys.
Stick around.
Trials.
Yeah, it was really hard for Anthony. It was kind of hard for me too, to be quite honest with you. I might change it on the last minute. So
I might too.
Yeah. We decided to go ahead and full on nerd out about everything Star Wars this week.
It's not hard for us.
There's a ton of stuff.
Can't wait to talk about a few things that we got on the agenda today. We're back. It's going to be a lot of Star Wars, guys. Everything that all these days counting down to Star Wars are like making me anxious. I can't wait to see the movie. There's already been some people that have watched it. But the reviews have been very hush hush about it. So
yeah, with no reviews whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. So, but we do know, and we have seen is Mandalorian episode 6, and that's our first hot top.
Indeed, Mandalorian 6. So yeah, man. I mean, so we left off on 5, right? The last thing that had happened.
Yep.
Was that the Mandalorian had left the
Tatooine.
Yeah, Tatooine after that whole debacle with the bounty and the guy basically betraying him, and he was able to get out of it when he went to go get his ship fixed.
Yeah.
So we start off on 6 with him. Was it in
it was a space station.
Right.
Yeah, it was like
they were checking his ship again.
Yeah, pretty much, but he actually stopped there for a job. Apparently he has, a broad history of, of things. And so he met up with one of his friends. And yeah, so that's where it starts off. I remember the very first person I was like, whoa, with this episode was Mark Jr. He's from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. He was the what character?
He was
the one with the gun in his back?
Renzar, the Malk, the small guy that was giving out. He gave the Mandalorian a job when he landed. He had this whole past and stuff like that. The dude's super recognizable, dude. Sons of Anarchy, man. If you haven't seen Sons of Anarchy, it's amazing. You haven't seen it, huh? Oh, dude, that's why you don't understand what I'm talking about, dude. That guy's amazing. You guys know who you know who I'm talking about. I'll show you a picture right now. Anyway, so super good. That was awesome. So
I didn't recognize him. That's why.
Yeah,
I don't watch it, so.
I mean, this episode has a ton of people that I was like, whoa. And that's one of them, Mark. He's from Sons of Anarchy. So, and then Bill Burr,
Bill Burr, yes, that's the one I was gonna talk about. He was really annoying to me in this episode, which he did
with
his job.
Boston accent.
Yeah, because they kept on underestimated the Mandalorian, like he was in anything. They were treating him like and then he kicked like those 3 droids' butts, and they were still kind of it was getting kind of annoying. So I was like, man, these guys better get it at the end.
Yeah,
and man, did they?
Yeah,
that was really good, man. I love the way they went about, saving this person, the one that they were going to save, and just, the back and forth with the banter between all of them together, even including the big guy with the horns and stuff. And you felt that they gave each character its own little, its own little fight scene to show how good they are. Yeah. And you saw, the girl and, the things that they're just making the Mandalorian seem like he's like the outcast of all 3 of them throughout the whole episode. And so obviously you want the Mandalorian to teach them a lesson, and he does, right? I mean, he does. But as far as the characters goes, and as far as a Bill Burr character, I really loved the way that they made that extra gun come out.
Oh yeah,
and
that
they
was
made
pretty
it look.
cool. Mhm.
It was pretty cool. Sometimes awkward in some of the shots that he was in with it, which but when he was using it, it was really cool to watch. Yeah. The big dude was whatever, and the girl was whatever. He was a standout for me out of the whole thing. And yeah, they were. It looked like the Mandalorian did his like a really good interaction with them, and how he kind of got back at them and stuff at the end.
Yeah, the whole episode was really, it worked really well for me. I like this episode more than the last 2 episodes that we've had. And then it's really cool to see some more cameos. And as I was talking about that, one of them is Matt Lantern. Many people don't know who that is, but he is the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. Okay. Series, and he's like a big deal. Everybody like in that whole fan base, he's a huge deal. He was the Resistance or New Republic officer that they jump. They were about to kill him, but they don't.
But at the end, they kill him.
Yeah. So
that was him.
So it's him.
That's
so
cool.
That was pretty cool. And then there is another cameo that was pretty big. A lot of people have been talking about it. Many of you may not have known this, but Dave Filoni, the director of the first episode and then the last episode that we had, he came up in a cameo in the X-Wing. In the X-Wings at the very end.
Oh yeah. Because they were when they called in the X-Wings, and that's how. Yep. That was really clever of the Mandalorian the way he did that. He went to go get his bounty. They gave him the money.
Yeah.
But
he knew he was going to get a double cross because, he got hired for that job. And I'm sure, they have a huge history with like things being double crossed.
I loved it. I love how smart that was.
So that was great. That was well written. Yeah. Also, I love the choreography in the whole film and the whole episode with Mandalorian just kicking a bunch of robot droid butt in throughout the whole show. That
was pretty cool.
That was great. That's the first time I see him use this flamethrower that actually worked. Every single other time, it's like they stop him or he misses or something like that. This is the first time I see somebody get burnt. Yeah. And it was quite pleasing.
Yeah, they made it the Star Wars burn. You know what I mean? Yeah. At least the one that I'm used to.
For sure. And so that it was a great episode. I love how they did this. My favorite part, again, it's crazy because it's Baby Yoda again. When the droid, I think it was the droid. Yeah. The droid opens up the living quarters that Baby Yoda's in, and he's about to shoot, and they do that again where you think that he's gonna die. Yeah. He's done it a few times already. And then they Mandalorian saves him.
Yeah. They did it with the robot too.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But Baby Yoda was like, he was about to use the Force. He's like, nah, man, you ain't gonna kill me. And then bang, and he's like, "Whoa, did I do that?"
Yeah, that was really cool,
dude. That was well done.
Yeah.
The way they are really just managing this character, Baby Yoda, is incredible, man.
It's great.
It's just the icing on the cake, really, because everything else is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to talk about Baby Yoda. Absolutely, that last scene,
can't forget about it.
Was great. Was amazing, and you're absolutely right. They have been doing that whole you think that person got shot and it was actually the person that was shooting. Yeah. And so it hasn't gotten old yet because I just barely realized it. But maybe if he does it more and more, maybe it's time to write a letter to Jon Favreau.
Right.
But as far as the episode, I think I would rank it. Definitely better than the first episode, and I would say probably definitely better than the last episode.
Yeah.
So it's up there with that number 2, 3 episode. So around there, you know.
Me too. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like the whole acting for Bill Burr, but I mean, to be honest with you,
it didn't bother me. He annoyed me. He annoyed me, and that's what he was supposed to do.
Right.
So he did his job. Remember that about the kid also that you were saying to me? He annoyed me to some degree. So I feel like he did his job. So I always leave when people, but there are some times where there's people that just don't fit the role. And they just don't do it. But this, to me, those kids did have, or that kid in that show on that one particular one, did have that face of mischief of like, I'm, this fool looks like he's gonna double cross him. Yeah. And so I felt that it had that. It's just, he was annoying. What do you think though about what they've been saying about Pedro Pascal, who is the Mandalorian? That he's not always in the suit.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he's almost never in the suit, apparently, from the reports that we've heard. It's a little sad. Like I got bummed out when I heard.
Do you think it's true?
I'm pretty sure it's true.
Yeah, me too.
I'm almost certain it's true because I think Bryce Dallas Howard said on record that on her episode that she directed, the one where the huge AT-AT came out, he wasn't in the suit at all. Like Pedro Pascal was not on set the whole time, so they never worked together. You know what I mean? So it's kind of bummed me. It kind of bummed me out because I hate to really have to think about that, because I do love Pedro Pascal. I love what he's doing. His voiceover is great, but it kind of sucks that he's not in the suit. That's kind of not all the time anyway.
So would we? So okay. So the question would have to be posed. Mm-hmm. Why are they paying him for voiceover only, or for his actual acting being there? Right. So they might be paying this dude because it's cheaper to pay him for his voice, which. I don't think money is an issue, but I mean the fact that he's not in the suit, and so that is
there's something else with him, his work schedule, or working around that schedule. You know what I mean? Like he might have only committed to a certain amount of episodes throughout the whole season. True. Because of his scheduling.
That is so true.
I don't know. It's just all,
but it is a little bumming to hear that he's not in the suit all the time. But you know what they're doing, you can't even tell, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't really kill everything.
It doesn't
for me. I mean, it's still,
but it's a little bummer,
great.
I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, man.
All right. There it is. Mandalorian 6.
Yes, chapter 6.
And so we're going to be doing all the Mandalorian guys. You guys have been seeing the Mandalorians always on the thumbnail. Yeah. We're going to be doing all the episodes.
There's only 2 more episodes and we'll be done.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a beautiful, dude, this Mandalorian thing is
I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day, and they were just kind of raving about how great it was, and they were just kind of pumping it up to another coworker of mine. And she's like, "Oh, no way. I couldn't believe she's like, I saw all the memes and stuff, but I didn't know it was that good." And then my other coworker is like, "Yeah, man, it's fire." That's what he says. And he's like, this is going to go on for a while. Like I could tell with Game of Thrones, I knew right away that it was going to be a long series. And he's like, this is going to go on for 10 seasons. Imagine what we're going to see in 10 seasons from now. Imagine that. Dang. That's crazy, huh? So, yeah.
Is there no stories?
It's going to be, absolutely. Yeah. Of course. We could have a whole show about that. So, so tell us what you guys think about the episode, chapter 6. Absolutely. And comment. All right. So, let's go. Will the Rise of Skywalker be able to deliver?
Okay.
We haven't seen it. We don't know what it is. So we
have some follow-up questions that that one question right now. Yes. Will it deliver?
Yes.
No.
Ugh.
I think we're gonna be a little upset. I don't think we're gonna be completely satisfied when this gets over. When it's over. I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan. I want it to be great, but do I feel like it's gonna? Yeah. I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, but it's not gonna be great. And because it's not great, you're gonna have people like me. That are, I love Star Wars, but I'm able to say, hey, you know what? It could have been a lot greater if they did this. And I guess that could be done with any movie, but Star Wars in this and with what they've been doing thus far leaves so much room for what they can do as far as what's fan service and what is actually new, maybe story that they want to tell because it's interesting and it could work and because it could fit for future, who knows?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with that question.
I believe that it will deliver for a lot of things and it will let down for a few. I think in the hands of J.J. Abrams, it will be a hit and miss because he just hasn't really been able to wrap anything up before in his life. He's great. He's a great starter. He's a great, but all his other projects like, Lost and stuff like that, all those have kind of been a dwindling, ending, like it doesn't really hit home. And so I'm hoping I'm wrong. But from my perspective, I think it won't. It will be, for the most part, a hit on most fronts. But we're gonna have some fronts that we're not gonna like.
So we're pretty much the same with that.
And like my expectation, like I'm extremely excited for the movie, but I'm not like I was more excited for The Last Jedi, to be quite honest with you. I really, really was. Even with Palpatine being here and stuff like that, I just kind of feel like I already kind of foresee what's going to happen. So it's not a surprise for me. Last Jedi was a pretty big surprise. Like I didn't know what was going to happen there. The Rise of Skywalker, I kind of have this idea and I'm kind of a little bummed out that I could see that. I wish I couldn't, but we'll talk about that more. So do you think it's going to be certified fresh? So do you think that in Tomato Meter we'll be seeing it fresh? We'll have that red tomato, not the green one splattered all over the place. Do you think critics will love this movie?
Yes, I think they will. For the most part, I think they'll give it a fresh. It barely maybe certified fresh and barely. I think to be certified fresh it has to be over 70.
I believe over 60, if I'm not mistaken.
Over 60. Oh, okay, then definitely fresh. Look, guys, I'm not saying that I think it's going to be bad by what I just said right now. That it's not going to. It just seems to me that when something's coming to an end, it's always a little underwhelming because of maybe what they want to do in the future. For it. Endgame. I love the movie. I loved it, but I didn't love it more than Infinity War, I feel sometimes. Even though I love Endgame, I love the way they did a lot of stuff. They did it great. But the thing is they're setting up for other things, and I didn't like that they made that one dude, the Captain America. And so there's always going to be things. And I feel like Star Wars, when this last one comes out, it's just going to do that.
Yeah. I believe it's going to be certified fresh. It's going to be over 90. The only reason why I say that,
90.
Yeah, over 90% of critics are going to like it. I think that it's the reason why I say that is because in the past, Lucasfilm has had great scores when their projects seem to have gone okay. Like if there's no bumps in the road, there was no change of directors, I would say that maybe you would argue that Colin Trevorrow, the guy from the Lost World or Jurassic World, he was going to do this film, Episode 9, but that kind of changed. But that was so long ago, and that whole script was thrown away, and they started brand new. It was like restarting again. So I think J.J. Abrams knows what he's doing. They didn't have a lot of problems with him. He's a master in his craft, and I don't think there's going to be any problems with it. But now the question is, fan
90s up there though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Last Jedi was 93. Yep.
Oh, well,
so
there it is.
Something to think about. And then okay, so the fan base. What do you think the fans are gonna say? Are they gonna be split like The Last Jedi? Are most of them gonna be happy with this ending, or is it going to be a Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones fiasco?
I think for the most part, I think fans are going to love it. I think the intrigue is there, so absolutely, people are going to go watch it. People are going to love it. There's going to be people, even if the movie isn't very good, there's people that are still going to love it, and so. It's just that's what Star Wars have done. But I think as far as divisiveness, I think it's probably going to be one of those movies that are going to be very split in half of people that loved it and people that that didn't love it because they wanted something else to happen.
So you think the fan base will be split on this?
I think so,
and I believe that is very true. I think that the why though on that is because of the Last Jedi, where Rian Johnson left the trilogy there and how he set it up for JJ to take over on the story. I think that's gonna JJ's not throwing away everything that Rian Johnson did. That's not my prediction. I think that everything he did, he's gonna accept it full-heartedly. Like Rey is not related to anyone that we know, and I think that Luke had his reasons for not wanting the Jedi Order to move forward, and that's just not Rian Johnson. That was not his decision. That was Lucasfilm's decision. J.J. Abrams needs to wrap up that idea, that thread. If you guys, dab into more of like the Star Wars lore that they're releasing right now, you could see how Lucasfilm is trying to graduate or retire the idea of a Jedi. They're retiring it. It's done. And so I believe that that's going to be a split in half. And, in 10 years from now, people are going to be like, okay, well, I see what they're always trying to do.
Well, you said something about the directors. I do believe that J.J. Abrams is not going to completely disregard what Johnson did.
Yeah.
But I think that he's going to probably make it to where I think he's going to give the fans what they want to some degree.
It's going to be a bunch of fan services.
Yeah, I think so too. But at the same time, the Rey, you mentioned something right now. I'm trying to remember what you said that sparked off this idea to me, that you said something about Rey. That she's not related to someone. I do think she's going to be related to someone. I do think they're going to show that in this. Yeah. In this. So
that leads me to the next question that we had. What are 3 things that need to happen in this movie for it to be amazing? Is that one of them for you? That the lineage of Rey should be revealed?
No, it's not a deal breaker, because they kind of made it like, okay, I'll just have to accept what happened in The Last Jedi. But things that need to happen are probably, I do want to see those Force ghosts. That needs to happen. That definitely needs. That doesn't happen, I'm gonna be very, very upset. Another thing that really needs to happen is definitely, man, I want to know where Rey's from. I want it to be something. Yeah, you're right. It could be. I said no, but it is important to me to know that. Yeah. I want to know if she's just out of nothing or just a new person with power. Yeah. Which is fine too. It doesn't matter. But I want to know that, like, for a certainty, because they didn't really make that clear in The Last Jedi either. Didn't. There was like this ambiguity. You know what I mean? It was just not very. Anyway. And then the last thing I think that needs to happen for it to be great, I think that we need to make sure that we see those Force ghosts, the right people to come back. And I think it's a great time. It would be a great time for Yoda and all them, and even maybe, Obi-Wan and all them, you know what I mean? And that would be so cool to me to see Obi, it would be just great. And man, dude, they do that, I think I'll be a fan no matter what. Just even thinking about it makes me grin. So those are the things that I absolutely need for those things to happen. Right.
I agree with you on the Force Ghosts. For it to be amazing, something like just blowing my brain away, is seeing some Force Ghosts. The ones that you mentioned are just perfect. We need that. As a matter of fact, I think that should be one of the last scenes of the film. If not the last scene, or repeat that scene, because what I would like to see is that the Return of the Jedi at the very end, they have the Force Ghost. That would be amazing. You drift off into the galaxies, the sky. That would be amazing. The second one for me is that Kylo Ren does not fully get redeemed. And what I say fully is because I don't want him to sacrifice himself for Rey because he found out that he is now, part of the light side. I don't want that. I want him to be the villain that he decided to be, like his grandfather.
He killed his dad.
I know, and that's why I don't want him to be redeemed. I don't want that to happen. I know I was having a conversation with one of my friends on Facebook, and we're talking about that and how she does want to like see how that plays out with Kylo, and I just don't want to see Ben go up to the light side. I do not want to see that.
I don't either.
So, and the third for me is Baby Yoda. Imagine, no, not Baby Yoda, but I need to see a Porg. Damn it!
Oh my God, I hate those things.
I need to see a Porg in that movie, J.J. Abrams. If you don't have Porgs in the movie, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so upset, dude. I need to see that freaking Porg.
They didn't have it in The Last Jedi?
They did. The Last Jedi brought the Porgs into existence. And
so they didn't have them in The Awakens.
The way Force Awakens did not have a Porg because those are part of the island that Luke was on. So that's kind of like the third one, but let me just sneak one more in, and I guess we'll lead this to the next question.
Go ahead,
we can do that. Is what would be your dream story and ending for Episode 9? Maybe we could talk about that more. I forget my last point because it kind of ties into everything else.
Okay. I think my dream ending.
Yeah.
Well, I think we talked about it already a little bit. My dream ending is definitely see what I saw in Return of the Jedi at the end of this one. I would just love to have all the characters there at the end and just feel like there's a family there. And I think whatever Palpatine is doing, I think we need to see that he's a bigger threat than something they can actually defeat. And I think that's where I feel the whole Star Wars thing is going. Yeah. That the future of Star Wars is actually Palpatine still. That we're gonna see Palpatine now for whatever comes next. Yeah. And I don't think they'll defeat him or anything like that. I don't think. And look, you see Rey with turning dark and that whole thing. Maybe that's I get those because of that. I say that because of that. Yeah. And so she might turn to the dark side some kind of way, but I don't know what's gonna happen, guys. I'm so excited. It's hard, guys, to because there's so many things that you can do, but who knows what they will do. And I think that I think Palpatine is gonna live for some reason.
That's crazy. My dream story for Episode 9 would be a story about Rey and Kylo Ren both going on the same path of light and dark and meeting into a place where they both, dark and light, have come together and they join forces, come to an agreement with whatever that means in the story, whether it's fighting together and coming to defeat Palpatine or coming together to sacrifice each like themselves for the galaxy, both of them. And that's it. And that's how the story would end. I want to see either both of them make it or both of them not make it out. That's what I want. And then they're in their perspective and on their own respective side of the story, And I know it's a little broad, but I truly believe that is the way that this story is going to end. We're going to see how Kylo was right all along, and how we're also going to see how Rey was right all along, and it's going to end up being a story about that. And
that's good.
And that's why I believe Palpatine is coming back, and that's why it makes so much sense, because Palpatine is like the evil of all evils. He's been manipulating both the light and the dark. And so the reason why there's all this bunch of conflict is because of him. So removing him will alleviate a lot of stress to the light and to the dark. And I think that's what
Let me tell you, when I say that he's going to continue living, it doesn't mean that he's not going to seem like he's dead in the movie or that they look like they kill him. Right. I feel that they probably will for some, but I feel like he's still going to keep on to some degree, because I don't think that the Palpatine character is going anywhere. I think, for whatever future Star Wars does have, and because I mean they're gonna make more movies, that's for sure.
And so what leads us to the final question about the episode 9. What does the future hold for the galaxy far, far away?
You know, every time I start
sagas, standalones, new sagas, maybe Rey's story. What do you think?
Yeah, there's got to be more movies. There's this.
Absolutely.
This makes so much money at the same time. You know, they wouldn't ever stop making movies for this now. I don't think there's too much story. They've built this whole universe, but I think where it goes, I think that I think they come back maybe a few years with what would it be? I'm sorry, 10, 11, and 12.
You think so? You want to keep on that? So I believe that the sagas have to end. The 1, 2, and 3 and 4, all of those episodic sagas. I guess it has to end, and I believe. Well, maybe they will continue on. I guess so. I guess they would have to continue on episode 10, 11, or whatever.
I would say do 12 and then start over. You know what I mean? Like what? Like do this now. There's another. Still Star Wars.
Yes. So I think that the saga is ending now. Like I don't think we'll ever hear about Luke Skywalker again in the way that we've heard him, or Darth Vader and stuff. All these movies, I think what they'll do is they'll push back into way in the future, and then you'll have a legend of Luke Skywalker and the Skywalkers. And I think I've told you this already before, but many people may not have heard me say this, but I believe that the Rise of Skywalker, it's titled like that because it is the birth of a new Force user called Skywalker. And instead of it being called Jedi or Sith, they will be called Skywalkers. So in this case, Rey is actually a Skywalker, but not in the sense of a bloodline, but because of a type of Force user. So it is a Skywalker Rey. Instead of Jedi Rey, it'll be Skywalker Rey, Skywalker Ren. You know what I mean? And so I think they're going to be putting that Skywalker as the new Jedi for the future. And so if they push back maybe 20 years from now, and they do it with the saga with certain people, like let's say, for example, in 5-10 years from now, they do that and they reference all the movies that we love and enjoy, the saga, and they reference it as a history book, like something that happened way, way in the past. And now they become Skywalkers. Now we have a different line of Force users, new stories, new characters, of course, and new legends. So
I wouldn't finish it at the 9. I would finish it at the 12 and then do what you're saying. So I think that there'll be another 11. I'm sorry, 10, 11, 12. And we have an older Rey or older, whatever they, whatever. Yeah. But, they're just going to be there and they'll finish the saga with
what if they do this? They go in the future and they do another saga. They call it whatever else they want to call it, an episode. I mean, chapter 5 or something, whatever. And then they have that, and they come back in a few years after with Rey, Finn, and Poe with chapter 10, 11, and 12. And they close out that whole timeline because now they're older, and we're talking about 20, 30 years from now, you know what I mean?
Right.
And having them close out those chapters because and they could even show up with the new movies or something, of that sort.
I like that idea, dude. So I actually really like that idea.
And that's why that way Lucasfilm maintains an open-ended, book just in case these things don't work
between.
Exactly. And that's what Star Wars has done so well. And look at all the stories that they're fitting in right now with the Mandalorian. It's going to be going to be ongoing. And so if they do that again, now they have a huge gap again to put in stories to show what the Skywalker Academy was before, and then there could be something else like the counter of a Sith. like something different. I don't know. It could be Ren. People could take the name Ren as like Sith, and they could take on that Skywalker and Ren.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. There's so many, but I think it will go on though.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely will go on with 11,
no
10, 9, 10, 12 for me.
And it looks like Disney Plus is going to be getting a lot of those standalone series sagas.
Yeah.
And we'll have that for a few years. I think
then we have Kenobi coming.
Star Wars is going to be a TV thing for the next few years until we get like a really solid saga coming up. And I can't wait for that, man. I really, really cannot wait. I want to go back to the future. I want to go into the future rather than the past, because I feel like I kind of I'm kind of done with Sith and Jedi now. I love everything that they've given to us thus far, and I just kind of want to move forward, and I want to see what Lucasfilm and Disney have to offer the fans now, starting fresh. I think they got it. So
we'll see what happens.
All right.
We will see.
All right, guys. So the very last thing we're going to be doing on this episode will probably be the hardest part of this episode.
My stomach hurts.
It will be ranking the Skywalker Saga pre-Rise episode 9. Okay, so we're going to be ranking them from 8 through 1.
Okay.
All right. So number 8.
For me, number 8 is going to be Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
Yes. The reason why is I was out. I didn't like where they were going with it. I didn't like a lot of things that they did, missed opportunities to some degree. And yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. I think it was one of the poorest Star Wars attempted films to date, and so and it's the poorest one, to be honest. And there's things I love about it, don't get me wrong. There's things in there that I do, but it's definitely my least favorite.
Yeah. Okay. Mine is actually Phantom Menace. Okay. I put Phantom Menace in there. I get what you're saying with that. Phantom Menace is probably my least favorite episode. As a matter of fact, I find myself fast forwarding the whole movie sometimes, because it's just so annoying with the Gungan city. And so I believe that every Star Wars movie has this whole area that's like a filler. It feels like the filler episode of a movie. You know what I mean? And like, there's no need for it. You didn't need it there. It has really little purpose in the story. They could have done something else for 3 minutes, and they would have answered what that whole place of it is. And I'll mention it as we go on. But for this movie, it was like the second act of the whole film was useless. I know there was a lot of good things here and there with the Senate, if you're into the politics of Star Wars, which is really cool when and done right, but which I think Revenge of the Sith did really well. But this movie was just a bunch of filler stuff in the middle, and it only gets really, really good towards the end. And I just can't deal with the filler part. It's extremely boring. Now, on to my next one, which is 7, is Attack of the Clones. I agree with you on that. I agree on that part. I do see there's different acting problems, and there's a few things that I didn't really 100% agree with. But then you have Yoda fighting for the very first time with the lightsaber. You have Count Dooku, which was amazing introduction to the whole canon. Absolutely. I love it. And the clones. Yeah. The army of clones was just amazing, and Jango Fett. So for me, like, yeah, Maul was in Phantom Menace, but it was the only cool thing about it. Everything else is kind, and then Qui-Gon Jinn, of course, he's an amazing part of canon too. But Attack of the Clones just has less filler for me and more raw story, pushing it forward with the clone creation, and it's a little bit more entertaining. I think there's more things happening in the film, to be quite honest with you. So that's my number 7. What about you?
For me, my number 7 is Phantom Menace.
Okay, so we flipped on that.
So yeah, we flipped on that. Why? Because there is no greater Jedi than Qui-Gon Jinn. Let me just tell you that right now. Let me just Liam Neeson is my hero. Yeah, he is my hero. There is, as far as I'm concerned, any Jedi that wants to be a Jedi should look at what Qui-Gon is and how he acts, how he stands, how he holds a lightsaber, everything. That guy,
even
is
his thought process was amazing. If you really like
his wisdom is
super cool. How they wrote him was
favorite
amazing.
thing. And yes, it was tough to get through the Gungan parts with him, but he was there and he gave me what I needed to see out of a Jedi for the first time. To see a Jedi like fully formed, like a in his prime, you know. And then you see a young Obi-Wan, and you're excited. I'm losing my mind when I'm watching this movie. Then you see a young Anakin, and it's all the lineage. It's the starting to put the puzzle together to everything that happened in episode 4, 5, and 6. And so to me, Phantom Menace, when it came out, I love the introduction of these characters. Right. Darth Maul was, oh my goodness, awesome. I really liked him. The story was a little bland at times. It kind of went up and down, and because of Jar Jar Binks, one of the most hated characters by me and the whole Star Wars
fandom.
Exactly. Hated that character. Didn't know why they put him there, but they put him there, and oh well. It's still, I love Liam. I love them. I love Phantom Menace for what it is. It has its issues, but definitely very respectable in number 7.
All right. Well, my number 6 is probably going to shock some of you guys. My number 6 is J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens. Okay. This is where the list doesn't mean that if it's this low, it means it sucks, because in my opinion, this saga is unbeatable. There's nothing out there. Even Lord of the Rings, I've seen the first Lord of the Rings, and guys, the wake up call, it's not that great. It's not that great. It's boring as hell.
Hey.
It is boring. Anyway, but The Force Awakens at number 6, respectively, there because of what it brought back to us. After decades of time, it came back with great, notes of what the original trilogy did. It kind of like it was like mouthwash for us from the prequels, in my opinion, and it did great. It was supposed to reboot, bring excitement back to the Star Wars franchise, and J.J. Abrams did it. Why is it so low though? And not number 5 or 4 or 5, 3, 2? It's because it's a rehash. There's no creativity, and I just decided to go with the original if I wanted to hear or watch a story about that. The cool factor about this story is Snoke not knowing who he was at that time, and also Kylo Ren. Just love Kylo Ren's introduction, his whole mask, and the killing of Han Solo, spoiler alert, was great. I think that was something amazing, well done. But it's a lot of these things are rehashes. Obi-Wan died, Han Solo died. You know what I mean? Trench runs, same thing, big Death Star, all these other things, just the same darn thing, unfortunately. Desert planets, So what about you, man? What's number 6 for you?
So my number 6 will have to be the New Hope. And again, reiterating what you just said, it's not that it's low because it's bad. It's
New Hope
because it's New Hope. It's where we found out all these things, and all these Star Wars, character, everything. We found it out there. It was amazing. I loved it.
It was the Big Bang of Star Wars saga.
Absolutely. It was what everybody was talking about. However, I gotta be subjective here, and what I see that the movie now, going back and watching it, I love it because of the nostalgia factor, but I have to remove some of that stuff and being able to just say, hey, New Hope was good. I love the introductory of all the characters, what they did, how they did it, and what we were able to perceive out of what was going on with the story. There were some things that they saved for the Empire Strikes Back movie, but it was enough for us to be just completely hooked. Really good movie. Loved, the Skywalker and Obi connection there, and how, Obi is teaching him, showing him a few things and telling him about his lineage, and them going out and figuring it out and trying to help Leia. And so the story was rich, great. it's not low. It's just my number 6 because there was other movies, but
Yep.
it was really good. New Hope, number 6.
Yeah, and that's goes with me on number 5, which is the same thing. New Hope. That's kind of crazy because that's kind of where it sits with me for the same exact reasons. Really, I just think that original was amazing, great, but now with all this, plethora really of content and movies, films, was it a great film? Yes, absolutely. Was it the original? Yes, absolutely. That's why it's better than The Force Awakens, in my opinion. The story beats great, almost never been seen before until then. Great characters with Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, the first big female lead that didn't, she was bossing them around a lot, that was really cool, to have grown up with that and saying, oh yeah, this is why I like those types of girls. Yeah. Hey, Liz.
That might be actually, there you go.
She's not bossy. I'm just messing. But that's I feel like I am so attracted to, I have been attracted to strong women,
right,
throughout my whole life.
Maybe why?
Because of role models like that I've seen women oh yeah, she could hold her own, and that's why I go crazy for Liz because she holds her own. So yeah, that's my point on New Hope.
Awesome, man.
5. What about you?
Number 5 for me will have to be The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I put The Last Jedi there is for obvious reasons that I know you know.
Mm-hmm.
But to tell you guys, it was a film that I felt that they made to contradict every kind of prediction. And yes, you would think that, oh, well, that's great, right? Because it's not predictable. But there were some things that I felt that were done that it didn't sit well with me in the way they did them and the way they went about telling the story. And there was a big part of it where I felt that nothing was gained. Which is in the casino part. With that said, however, there was a lot of beautiful scenes because of all those things. I felt Benicio was playing the character DJ, I believe his name was. Yeah. Served no real purpose other than just being a quirky character. And to be honest, I didn't like it very much. I didn't mind it, but I just felt if you have a character like him saying yes to this movie, I would have definitely done something better with him. Yeah. With that said, again, these movies are not put in this place because they're bad. No, they're good. They're great movies at the same time. Yeah. When Yoda came back, I was in tears. I'm not. I'll say the truth. In the theater, there are tears coming out. Yep. Because it was just such a powerful moment, and you'll never forget that in cinema history. Anybody, and neither of ever, it's just gonna live with us. And just to see, Luke back and everything that he went through, and then teaching Rey, and being that kind of character back and forth, and then knowing a little bit more about what happened with Kylo and him. Great story, guys. But the things that I didn't like about it were some of the things that they didn't capitalize. I didn't like that Luke, went to the Force yet. I didn't think it was time yet for that. I didn't like what they did with Leia completely all the time either, and how they showed her power in that moment. I didn't like how they did that. I think they can do it a lot less with all that. And so there was things that I didn't like about the movie. I know I haven't seen it in a little while, but there was a lot of things that I did have differences with you about that film. Absolutely. But that is why it's at my number 5.
Gotcha. Okay. And we'll talk about Last Jedi in a bit with me. I can't wait to talk about it. Sure. So number 4, it is not The Last Jedi. This is kind of where we started changing up a little bit. Return of the Jedi. So it's not the last one when they're gone. It's when they return. Yeah. So the reason why I have this not on probably a lot of people may have this on 2 or 1. Return of the Jedi was great and all, and I love the Luke and Vader scenes. Those are iconic cinematic scenes that have transcended film into pop culture, and everyone knows them. Everybody has seen a film, a slide of that, or a picture. I love this film so much from the very beginning of the intro. One of the, I would argue, the best introduction in all Star Wars. That's the best opener, even with like the Luke and Rey scene. I mean, it was a little underwhelming. I get it, but I wanted more. Oh no, that wasn't even it. It was something else for The Last Jedi. So anyway, long story short, The Return of the Jedi, best opener. What it did not meet for me.
The opener for the Return of the
Jedi? Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Got it. Yeah, I remember.
With Princess Leia being enslaved.
Yes, I remember.
After she sneaks in, you know what I mean? Boba Fett there, the fight with Luke. You know what I mean? That's why, let's not go there. And all these are like great scenes. It's up there at number 4. Nice. It's not a bad place at all, but the reason why it's so low on the top, it's because of the Ewoks and that whole Endor scene. I mean, it's great. They're cute, whatever. But I'm not a huge fan of Ewoks. To be quite honest with you, I never was. It was kind of like I always wanted to go to the bathroom, go get a snack, go get a slice of pizza down the street on 110th Street when I was growing up. That was me, and I never connected with those scenes. And now that I look back on them, it's a little hard to watch just because of those scenes. I can't give it higher than that. So
that was
4?
Your
4.
Number 4. Okay, so for me, number 4 is going to be. Oh man, this is where it gets hard, guys. This is the heck. Okay, so number 4 for me is going to be The Force Awakens. You said a lot of things about it right now.
Yeah.
Pretty much, a lot of that. The reason why I hold it up so high. Harrison Ford came back, guys, and it was like when I saw, when I was in the theater and I was watching the trailers, and that trailer comes out, and he says we're back, and Chewie, they get him back in the Falcon. It was like, it was like one of the best things that ever happened to me as an adult. It was like, oh my God, dude, I can't believe I'm seeing him again in a movie that I never thought he would come back to again. How? And they were able to make it possible. And I was just, the nostalgia level of that movie was just overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
To see R2D2 back, and then seeing the Millennium back, and then there was just so much, man. And the story was great. Yeah, there would have been different things that I did in it. I explained to you. Like I wouldn't have taken Kylo's mask off right away. I would have killed Harrison maybe in the beginning of the second one, of Jedi. I wouldn't have killed him there yet. And so there are little different things that I would definitely have done, but I loved the way that they introduced the character of Rey in this. I loved it. I really loved how she went to go 60 portions.
One of the best characters in Star Wars,
played by Simon Pegg, the guy that said that. And I love the world they created for her and the mystery. I love how she goes in and how she's like, throughout the spaceships, that like she's climbing them, and dude, it's just great.
Scavenging.
Yeah, and so because of all that, and because the way that to some degree it ended, just the ending of it was Luke.
Yeah,
Luke, dude. Yes, absolutely, it has to be up there in my list, because Force Awakens was a force to be reckoned with, and that is why Force Awakens is at my number 4.
All right, so number 3, we're about to finish up this list very soon. Revenge of the Sith is my third film. Now, a few months ago, I had to do this because I was like just trying to figure out like what is it? Why is it that I always go and watch the same Star Wars films? Like at one point, I was in complete denial that my number one was my favorite movie of all time, but after speaking with my wife, she kind of convinced me, and I'll show you guys which one that is. But number 3 was one of those things that Revenge of the Sith was one of those things that, you know, I don't completely 100% like the way they dealt with Vader in the film. And there's some acting problems in the movie as well. But I get a lot of Star Wars lore in the film. Like Sith lore and Jedi lore and just a few things here and there that I've never even like thought that I was able to even see before until this movie. And that's why this film is ranked so high for me, because I keep on coming back to it. And I can't deny it. I know it's a prequel film. I know it's something that maybe a lot of people didn't really like and enjoy, and maybe it's lower on their list. But this film just, man, it always gives back to me. So every time I watch it, it gives back to me. So it's a number 3 for me.
My number 3. That's great, dude. I totally agree with all that. And I agree with it because that is also my number 3.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's you know, the Revenge of the Sith is one of those movies that I probably don't go as much back to it as I go back to my number 1.
Yeah, same.
But it's definitely a film that to me introduced when I really felt that, okay, Vader's taking over now. Like they showed the evil, they showed the killing of the younglings.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Even the deliberation, you know what I mean? That you felt Anakin having was really good. And the way that Palpatine was able to manipulate Anakin was just, I loved it. And that ending fight scene with Obi and Anakin.
Legendary.
Anakin, the democracy. I always say that line. I know through the lies of the Jedi. Dude, this guy, they acted their butts off before they got into a scrabble.
That was great.
Once they got into the sword fight, saber fight, before that, the dialogue, the writing.
Yes.
Was so great, guys.
Yeah.
I loved it. I don't care what they say about the prequels. That one to me is.
Yeah, it's the saving grace of the prequels. Absolutely.
Yes.
If not, that trilogy would have been a waste, to be quite honest with you.
You're either with me or against me. Don't make me kill you. Dude, it's great.
Yeah, it is great.
Wow. Yep. Obi, what he does. You were my friend, Nanak. You were my brother. It's hard, dude, to place these films because they're so great.
Yep.
But Sith is my number 3.
Yeah, it's tough. It was, I agree. I just want to say that my favorite Emperor scene of all time is in that movie.
Oh, that's
it's when he sits down with Anakin in the opera scene, and they start talking about the Plagueis, the story of Plagueis, which was Emperor Palpatine's master. He's talking about his master, how he killed his master, and that whole scene it's just riveting, dude. Every time I watch it, I'm like, my gosh, there's so much story meat there to like expand on. Like they could just go crazy on Darth Plagueis, you know? And I wish one day, I really do wish that one day I could see that. Yeah.
I think we will.
Before I die.
I think we will.
Yeah, that would be amazing because it is my favorite scene from the Emperor. It's amazing. So, all right. So let's move on to number 2 and 1, right?
Yeah.
So you want me to go first?
No, I think I should go first.
Okay, go for it.
Because this is you, dude. This is when I think Star Wars, I think Ish. This was the hardest. This is one of the hardest things that I have to do when it comes to placing this. Okay, these 2 movies here. You gotta understand, these 2 movies were on my VCR, guys. Okay. 24/7. If they were not around my VCR, these are movies that I was at my uncle's house looking to see if they had taken them, because they would borrow movies sometimes. And it was this important to me to have those two movies always disposable at will for me to watch in case I have a bad day.
Yeah.
With that said, my number 2 will have to be The Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
And I love The Empire Strikes Back. Okay. I love it. I love everything that it did. I love the how Luke gets trained by Yoda. Everything that has that movie to offer, it's there. It's definitely there, and I love it. And the only reason why I go back and forth with 1 is because I love the interaction and the fight between Vader and the ending of Return of the Jedi. Yeah. And it's one of the best endings that I don't think that I will ever see a better ending as one of the Return of the Jedi.
It's a great ending.
I haven't seen one yet. Yeah, like that you open someone and father, and the amount of emotion in this movie.
Yeah.
In Return of the Jedi, to me, was so great, and it's my number 1 because of it, because of everything. Oh my God. And that's why I teeter so much with number 2, which is Empire, because of all there's a lot of richness in the story where Yoda and his training, quotable thing, dude.
Yeah.
Amazing number 2.
Yeah.
Amazing number 1. The ending, the start, even the Jabba the Hutt and the bounty and Boba, dude.
Right.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Those 2 films marked the reasons why I love movies, why I love doing this.
Yeah.
And so it's so hard, but when I come to a realization, I would always go back to watch that ending scene in Return of the Jedi. And it just does something to me.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. And that's why Empire number 2, Return of the Jedi, my number 1 best Star Wars film that I've ever seen.
That's great. That's awesome.
It was hard, man. It's emotional too, because it's like, dude, I don't want to. Oh my God, dude.
Absolutely.
It's a hair. It's a hair, maybe.
Yeah. I know. I bet. For me, it's not a hair per se. I have a very, very defined 1 and 2 that over time has really shown me what the saga is about. And I kind of like really love the expansion of things. And that's why I really, really, really love the ideas that both the number 1 and number 2 came to me to bring into this to the franchise. And so I'm going to talk about my number 1 first. And Empire Strikes Back is definitely in many people's opinion the best sequel of all time. It is the sequel that not only improved on a wonderful film, almost perfect film in my opinion, that expanded the philosophical ideas that it brought, the technology that it brought to the industry, character development, and the best ending, in my opinion, of any Star Wars film, because it ends with a low note of how realistic things could be, and that sometimes you face things and you don't always come out of it as a champion. Okay. But you live on to do it again the next day, the next episode of your life. And that has always been an encouraging thing about The Empire Strikes Back. It's amazing to me. Everything, I mean, I could go on about like the direction and the writing. The writing is incredible. This film was not always my favorite film of all time. It actually is now, just because of people ask me sometimes about it, and it jumped around for different like films.
What did it jump around?
This so I know that this might not be like super popular to say because it's not considered an amazing film, but The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise is, for some reason, I just like really connected with that film. And I love that film like a lot. And Gladiator, I really, really love the Gladiator as well. I would say those are like in my top five somewhere. They're not ranked anymore, but for sure Empire Strikes Back is there. Now my number 2 is probably the most crazy, part of my list, because a lot of people did not like this film at all. Last, 2 years ago when The Last Jedi came out, it was divisive. A lot of people did not like it. Great critic reviews, like I told you, but the audience level was like at 50 or 40 or something like that. A lot of the audience did not like it. But this film, what it showed me is that there is so much potential in the saga, in the franchise of Star Wars, and what George Lucas did. To see that his thoughts and small thoughts that he had come to life in his original saga, and then build up and prove that this is a good idea with the prequels. Now this sequel trilogy is actually really set itself apart with everything else, because it's trying to do something for the future. I would say this saga is the sequel to the last 2 trilogies. Like, so the trilogies sit right here with Luke and Anakin being like the main antagonists. Okay. But the sequel trilogy, which we're actually going to watch this week, and that is the true sequel. So this trilogy did what Empire Strikes Back did to Star Wars. You know what I mean? Okay. So now we're about to experience an expansion of like just lore and character development and just things that we thought that we would never really experience with story. Marvel brought something to the table where they're very chapter episodic, with their movies, phases and phases and stuff. Star Wars is about to go into that phase right now. They're about to release the hounds on storytelling and just taking risk, and I can't wait to see how that goes about. But the movie that did it for everyone, it was The Last Jedi, and I believe that The Last Jedi is the tether to the future of Star Wars films, and I love everything that they did except for Canto Bight. For a bit, I thought that this movie was pretty much perfect, but after really just kind of like digesting it and stuff like that, I can't call the film perfect anymore, because Canto Bight is just a sore, and it's doing the same thing that it did with the Force Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks. Canto Bight was just something useless, and I have friends that they've proved me wrong with that, the way of thinking like that, but I still don't like the execution, so I still think it's a failure in that end. But everything else with the Snoke scene, so let me just say this is the last thing I ever say. It's a great scene. My favorite scene in all Star Wars is the Snoke throne room scenes with Rey, Ben, and the Guardians, the Praetorian Guards. The red ones, yeah. That scene is amazing. The fact that both dark and light fight together and they destroy, like they kill Snoke, like they were both led by the Force to do that. So the Force is guiding them, storytelling wise. They're guiding them to an end point. Both think that they're right in their own being, in their own thought process, but they're gonna end up in the same road, and that's why I say what I say about what I want for the ending in the sagas to come about. So The Last Jedi did something completely different. Last Jedi can only be compared to one other film in the saga, and that is Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is the best film in all fantasy, the fantasy genre, in my opinion. And The Last Jedi really did a lot of what it did, but not the same way, not a carbon copy like what The Force Awakens did. And that's why it's number 2 for me. Far from Empire Strikes Back, because Empire Strikes Back is just a perfection. And then The Last Jedi.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
That was heavy. That was heavy. That was hard.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the hardest things I have ever had to do when it comes to movies.
I know, it's tough, huh?
Yeah, that was interesting, man. The way that we perceive all the movies and how we place them, you know. I, for some reason, have the return. I love the Ewoks, you know, and so that was my childhood. But I also base it off of the way it made me feel.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
I tell a lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
What's my favorite Avenger movie? I'll always tell you my favorite superhero movie when it comes to those movies is Avengers 1 because of how it made me feel the first time, you know? And so that's why.
Yeah,
but dude, that's respectful list.
Yeah. Same for you, man.
You know,
I really like that we it was kind of even, dude. There was like maybe 2 movies that are like.
Which one did you have? I know that I didn't know that you were gonna place Sith that high.
Yeah. Because it just came back. What I said, it keeps on giving, man, and I just love it. I just really
that
do.
was I think that was the biggest surprise.
That actually changed in the last few months for me.
I knew that you were Empire Strikes Back. I knew that. I knew that for sure. I think you knew that I was Return of the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that you were gonna place Sith right there because I placed it in the same number 3.
Yeah. I think I just kind of accepted where it really truly belongs in my watchable list of Star Wars films.
Rewatchable, dude.
Just to watch it, man.
Great.
So yeah, one last thing about The Last Jedi, I never cried so much in a film before in my life. Like I've never I cried at Luke.
I cried a lot
Leia,
too.
When Luke passed away at the very end, when Yoda appeared. Dude, like I cried like 4 times in that film.
It was great.
And it was amazing. And dude, the experience of that theater that I was at for Ryan Johnson. No,
I didn't. I saw it the second time.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson showed up to the theater that day.
That's right.
And everyone just went crazy. It was just in the Chinese theater in LA, and just beautiful screen, whatever. But the crowd, man, it was just amazing.
I remember seeing your posts.
Yeah. So that has a lot to do with the way I felt, I guess, but I never went through an experience that I was crying in a Star Wars film like that. Never. So it really connects with me. It really does. It really does. Super a lot, like in a lot of levels, dude. That I could go on for like an hour just to talk about that. But like, yeah, The Last Jedi has a tremendous respect in my heart for.
Wow, and that's one of the films that him and I have argued about a lot about what they did.
That's why I stand firm so much.
Absolutely, and that's great. I love that he stands firm with that. I just felt that there was a lot of issues with it, a lot of misdirections and things that I feel like he messed up J.J. Abrams like story in a way that he wanted to tell, and I think it's on record that J.J.'s actually kind of said that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that Ryan didn't do what he would have done, and that now he still has a plan. Like they still had a plan for episode 9, but it has to adapt to what Ryan did. So they were actually still going for what they were originally planning, and that's kind of why I freaking love this, because I think that they always planned this, and Ryan saw this end goal. And he was like, man, it would be really cool if we just do something different, completely different right here, and just switch it on everybody, and not like, yeah, we all know that we're going to get here, but let's switch it up. And that's why I think that he did a lot of changes. You're right. He did it because he was intentional with it. And I think that, yes, a lot of people may have felt like, oh, that is not necessary. But I think what he did, man, it was.
I know Mark Hamill also had an issue with the direction.
A lot of people did. John Boyega said something about it the other day.
And I had an issue with the direction that the movie had, but not by saying that do I not like the movie. I did like, because there's so many great parts. The your iconic fighting scene, dude, it's amazing. It's an amazing scene. I love it. It's hard, but
Luke and Yoda, going back and forth,
dude.
Being taught one more time.
Yes, dude. Even when.
Like, I want to cry right now, but I'm just thinking about it.
It's like my favorite scene, and always will be. Always will be.
Yeah.
No matter what, I think it's always going to be that either that end fighting scene and Return of the Jedi, and the fighting scene and Revenge of the Sith. Those are my 2 most iconic things that I go back to over and over again. So those are mine.
Yeah. So let us know what your list is, guys. Tell us where you think Rise of Skywalker will fit into our list.
Yeah, guys, put your list down there in the comments.
Put it down. Let us know. And yeah, like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification when we release the review and talk of
this one's a little longer one, guys, but this is Star Wars. We're getting ready for the Star Wars premiere here in how many days, Ish?
And like from where in this airs, it'll be 4 days away.
4 days away. We get to know what the heck is going to happen with our beloved Star Wars. Stay tuned, man, for more content, you guys. Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah. All right.
And stay
moving minded.
Movie minded.
Peace. May the force be with you.